What's up, Riftbounders? I'm back at it again with another VOD review. This time, reviewing this game I had when I was playing Kaisa versus Misfortune Aurora. And the point of these videos is to just go over what I did during the games, what I could have done better, try to figure out why I lost when I shouldn't have. And yep, let's get started. So in this game, playing Kaisa, I'm playing against Aurora MF. I know that because the MF plays a Aspirant's Climb, which basically means they're playing Aurora and definitely not aggro MF. I look at my hand, looks like we have Cleave, Retreat, Smokescreen, and Stupefy. I think in this case, I don't remember what I mulligan here. I think I mulligan the Stupefy and Cleave. Yeah, that makes sense. Retreat is pretty good, especially if you can't get a unit off a battlefield before their Dead Bloom comes into play. You can retreat it out. Obviously, I have Reaver's Row, which will help. But you could actually use Retreat in a way to get a unit off before you think a Dead Bloom can come into play. So I sort of kept that. Smokescreen is also pretty good because MF doesn't have a lot of ways to buff their units or deny the smokescreen. So if they put like a big unit on a battlefield, it's really easy to reduce its might to something that is manageable. And it looks like I draw into a Darius and a Yordle. I'm going first, so I really need a 2-drop. And luckily for me, I do get the Pouty Poro. So we'll see. I get that. And my opponent gets the Mobilize, so they're ramping. Okay, I draw into Superfy. I think on this turn, I just want to get as many bodies out as I can. Like, I could play the Poro. Sorry, I could play the Yordle here, but that's not really going to be very useful for me. It's not a good way of using my runes. I think it's best to get the Kaisa. I move Poro to the Aspirants. Though, so the next turn I can play Kaisa into Reavers, which is generally a good idea if you are playing Kaisa. My opponent plays a Catalyst on turn 2, so it looks like they are going into a potential turn 3 Aurora here because they ramp turn 1 and ramp turn 2. And so here, I want to conquer with Kaisa, so I believe I do that. I draw into a Ray. Let's see. So right now they're at 8. So they could play an Aurora into a Dead Bloom. So it's probably good that I retreat the Poro here. So that's what I do. And I play a Darius because that's probably the biggest body I can have. And the good thing is if I play Darius in base this turn and my opponent doesn't put anything at a battlefield, I could send Darius into an empty battlefield and send him right back thanks to his readiness. So I think, what do I do here? I think I play a Stupefy just to draw. I draw into a Timewarp, which is really good. I play the Darius in base. I don't put him in or anything. I just leave him there. My opponent is at, what is this? My opponent is at 10, and they actually play an inverted timelines, which I guess they don't have the Aurora, so they're digging for it. This is really bad for me, actually, because it's not super bad. It's bad because I lose the Time Warp, and I only have one Time Warp in deck, and this Time Warp is going to be kind of important, especially on Aspirants. So they do the inverted timelines. I get a pretty crappy hand, and then they play the Spectral, which targets the Darius, which means on my next turn, Darius will die because it is a temporary unit. So yeah, on my next turn, Darius dies. I'm at 4. My opponent's at 8 right now, so they could Aurora next turn. They could Dead Bloom. They could play a big guy. But the thing is, I do need the point on the right. So I go down to 5, and I feel like, should I be at 6 points? No, yeah. So I go down to 5 points. I basically flood my board because there's literally nothing else I could do. I guess another option I could have done is I could have retreated Kaisa and sent it in to conquer the other one to just get another draw, because my hand is kind of bad. And my opponent plays the Soul Gorger, which should reanimate something that they discarded. And they brought a Dead Bloom, which they discarded through the inverted timelines. Pretty good for them. Kills my Poro. Goes to me. I'm at 5. And I have nothing to play except a Cathian Rain and a Falling Star, which unfortunately, I think I do. What do I do here? I Falling Star onto the Dead Bloom. Clear it out with a Poro. and my opponent plays a Ride the Wind, which sends it into base. So I get pretty punished here because I basically lost 2 runes onto the Dead Bloom, and I wasn't able to kill it. And I go to 7. I still need 2 points to win. So my opponent doesn't need to do much. They just send Dead Bloom to one side. I retreat the... Oh, I don't even... I retreat the Kaisa due to Reavers, and I lose the Poro on the right. And honestly, what I could have done here is I could have retreated the Poro just so I have an extra body for that final push. But I don't. I let it die, which might have been a mistake. I think it's fine here, though, because the retreat can be used for other things, like if I have a Watcher or if I get as you see here, a Darius. Right now I'm at 7, and my opponent has 3 up. I don't think there's much they could do other than maybe like a fight or flight. I think here, I actually Acathian Rain to see if I can kill off the Dead Bloom and the Soul Gorger. Is this enough to kill it off? I kill off just the Dead Bloom. And I think I put some damage onto the Soul Gorger. So I go to 8 with the Kaisa on Reavers. I send everything over here. I get rebuked, which is really bad because now the Soul Gorger heals back to full. So let's see. Let's see what I... Yeah, so we put 8 on the Dead Bloom. We put 4 on the Soul Gorger. And then the Soul Gorger has 1 health left. I get rebuked, so the Raven Bloom goes back in hand, and then he gusts up my guy, my 1 cost, which goes into my hand. And yeah, that thing heals to full. It goes to 5 health, which is a pretty bad situation for me because I need I mean, I have to hold on to Reavers, but I feel like if he has another Dead Bloom, I can't really do much. It'll just knock me off, and then I'm in a pretty bad spot, I would say, because I have no runes. Basically, the Acathian Rain, because I had to target the Dead Bloom, it basically knocked out all my runes. I think another option is I could have Acathian Rain to kill the Soul Gorger, and then force the Dead Bloom to push off. But I don't think that would have... Maybe that would have been a better play, because like I go from 6 runes here to 2, which is very sad. And then I make another misplay where I should have sent all the Raven Bloom plus 2 sentries. I think what I was worried for was bullet time, because if I get bullet timed here, I guess it would be the same result. So another option I could have done is I could have just not gone in with my 3 guys over here, see if my opponent can push me off Reavers, and then try to go in with a final push later. But yeah, because I go in with only 2, I was playing around the bullet time, but I still get punished. My opponent does use pretty much all their cards in hand, so I know they don't have bullet time. And then, but the next turn they play they top deck the Aurora, and they knock out my Kaisa with the Misfortune ganking, or they knock it back. The Aurora flips a Volley Bear, which is one of the best things they could have drawn here, because now I basically can never take over Reavers, and the Volley Bear can gank over onto Aspirants. So I believe after this, I just lose because there's just too much might, and I have too few runes. Because I think if I didn't spend the Acathian onto the Dead Bloom, I would still have a lot to, Darius Cleave, Watcher, play some Void Seekers. But because I basically have nothing, I just have to spend a few turns developing in base. And because I'm developing in base, I don't have enough might to take over the battlefields. And my opponent just gets a free unit every turn through Aurora. So yeah, this game, I think the main mistake here was maybe going to Acathian Rain onto the Dead Bloom a little too early. And that was terrible. That was terrible because that basically brought me down to 0 runes. I know I didn't have any cards in hand. I was kind of hoping to finish the game off of this, but I didn't play around the last few possible runes that my opponent had up, and because of that, I couldn't win the game that turn, which led to a big punish. So unfortunately, I lost the game 1, and then game 2. Let's see what happened in game 2. So in game 2, I decided to put in an extra time warp. What do we have here? Game 2, yeah. So I start off with Sentry, Smokescreen, Falling Star, and Yordle. This is okay. I mean, the Sentry is a good 2-drop to start off, but my opponent, I believe they chose first, so I actually could play the Yordle first. So I actually decide to mulligan the Falling Star and the Sentry, since both of them are going to be rather not worth that much. So turn 1, I just play the Yordle. I get some units. Turn 2, I think my turn 1, my opponent just stacked decks into nothing. Turn 2, I send the Yordle plus Kaisa to... I actually accelerate the Kaisa here because my opponent pretty much can't do anything about it. And so I don't really need to save the retreat. So I just want to get as many points as possible. I get 2 points, 1 on each side. I draw into a Poro. My opponent passes their turn 2, which is great for me. That means they can't ramp. And here's actually where I think I potentially could have made a mistake. So I think, actually, wait. Yeah, I think so on this turn, I actually moved both my units back, which I guess is fine. But the thing is, they can't actually go to a Dead Bloom next turn. They're right now at 5. They go to 7 next turn. So they can't actually play a Dead Bloom, so there's no reason to actually move my units back. The only way I would be kind of scared here is if they send in Misfortune. So if they send in their accelerated Misfortune hero, and that would force me to use maybe a retreat on one of my units, which is not good for them because that also delays them down a rune. Because if they accelerate their Misfortune, they're down 2 runes, and that puts them further from hitting their Aurora, playing a Dead Bloom. So I think what I could have done here is I could have actually just left both my units at the battlefield and basically go to 4 points before bringing them back. And that way, by the time, because right now what I do is because I brought them back a little early, I have to go in again, which puts them at risk of a Dead Bloom once my opponent actually has it. But in this case, I think I did send them back a little preemptively. It's not, I don't think I get punished for this because my opponent goes to 7 and just plays nothing. So I guess like they were probably I believe what's happening here is they were trying to say they don't want to spend any runes, so they don't even bring the MF. Um, it's most likely that they are going to go to 9 next turn and play the Aurora. So right now I have a pretty large group in base. I send Kaisa in for the Conquer and draw. In this case, maybe it's not even worth sending Kaisa because I have so many cards in hand. I basically have all the cards I need to win at this point. So really isn't that much point in sacking Kaisa. Maybe it's better to send the tank Yordle. So I go to 6. I play some more units. I play Darius and base. I leave some up in case something does come down. I think like if a Dead Bloom comes down on the Kaisa, I can smokescreen it, which is pretty good. And my opponent concedes. I assume they don't have the Aurora, so that was a pretty fast game 2. And then game 3 is where we this is the game decider. So what do I get here? I get does it even show? Okay, so I get smokescreen, a cleave, and we have obelisk of power. Is that obelisk of power? No, that is not obelisk of power. We got, yeah, so game 3, I have 2 sentries. I got smokescreen, I got cleave. I wonder why I kept both sentries. I feel like here I should be mulligan and cleave and 1 sentry because 2 sentries is kind of useless. And yeah, I kept the 2 sentries for some reason. And I draw into a 3rd sentry, which is, it's not great. It's not great, I gotta say. So we played the sentry turn 1. My opponent inverted timelines, which is actually really good for me because I really don't want these sentries in my hand. I end up getting 2 time warps. So I hope my opponent doesn't play inverted timelines again. They stack deck. They grab something, pass it to me. I can send the sentry in. Unfortunately, I will not be able to send in another unit. So I send the sentry in, but I believe they gust it, which is, yeah, they gust the sentry, which puts me behind. And then I guess with the last 2, with my 4, because they gusted my sentry, I needed to put 2 units down so I can get as many bodies. So instead of playing the Kaisa, I play the Raven Bloom and the sentry again. Right now they're at 7. So they play a Catalyst, which indicates that they could play something big next turn. And then they actually play a Sabotage this turn. So let's see. So they're at 3. They're at they're basically at 9. So they can afford to play the Sabotage. That makes sense. They play the Sabotage. I have 2 Time Warps. And they actually get rid of, what did they get rid of? They got rid of the Retreat, so the Time Warps. I suppose they thought it would take a while for me to actually get the Time Warps, so they'll be fine. But honestly, I think they should have gotten rid of the one of the Time Warps. So I go to 6 runes. At this point, I basically just need to get some points, get on the board, and play some units. So I send both units in, and unfortunately, I have to recycle a rune due to the mountain over there. And I play the Kaisa just in base. No reason to go in. I think one thing I could have done here is I could have actually, I think instead of sending the Raven Bloom to God's Will, I could have accelerated Kaisa into it. But obviously the downside is if they hit like a if they hit a Dead Bloom, my Kaisa will die. But at this point, yeah, I think in my head I justify it as sending a smaller body is better. And let's see what they do. They play the Soul Gorger, which revives the Mind Splitter, and they destroy my Watcher, which is pretty bad for me. And yeah, I guess one of the reasons why they might have gotten rid of the retreat earlier is because they know that I have to conquer onto the, is that Sigil? Probably Sigil. And that makes me recycle runes. So it's harder for me to hit the Time Warp. And obviously they got 2 big guys. I go to 4. I play a 3 here just to see what I get. I think this was also a misplay. I should have just played the Darius to use as much of the runes as possible. And of course I retreat these 2 because now I basically waste 4 runes worth of value. And my opponent plays a second Mind Splitter, takes a look, throws away the Watcher. I lost 2 Watchers at this point, which is rough because I really needed that Watcher to make this push here. I do have the Darius, and I think here I'm what I could do is I know my opponent doesn't have Aurora, so they kind of have to top deck it. I could save up and try to play like the Time Warp play. I think that could be an option. I don't think there really is a need to go in and clear anything right now. But I think because I'm a little anxious, I play the Poro Darius. I mean, I think playing Poro Darius this turn was correct, just so I can use up some of the runes. Then Darius goes to 7, which means that he can go in, and I actually don't do anything. So I guess I played it safe. I don't go in. I don't rush into trying to get any points. My opponent still needs a lot to win, and they don't have the Aurora. So my opponent conquers another by going over there, moves the Mind Splitters back, and we're in a state here where I can get a free point with Darius or Kaisa, but unfortunately I can't really use up my runes. Actually, right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I can go to 6 with Time Warp. So I think my play here is to actually send Kaisa in Time Warp. What do I do though? Okay, I do send Kaisa in. And does my opponent do anything? They play a Ride the Wind. Oh, okay. Yeah, so they play a Ride the Wind to send in their Watcher, which is something I didn't actually expect. I probably should have. They did have quite a few runes up, so I know they don't have Aurora, so their hand has to be small spells. So maybe I was expecting like a Rebuke or something, but I did not. I think I completely forgot about the Ride the Wind. So that gives them an extra point, and I kind of lose the Kaisa for free. I think the play might have been to send Darius and Kaisa, force them to use a bullet time. And even if they use the bullet time, I could still send in one of my small units and then do the Time Warp play. So at this point, I have nothing. I don't even know, why do I think I cast the Time Warp here to get the +1 on my student. I send the Darius and the student. And why do I send the other guys? I actually don't know. So I send the other guys. I guess it's just in case the student gets gusted. I think that's why. Yeah, I send everything in case the student gets gusted, but this actually puts me at risk of bullet time. So I don't know if this was also the correct play or not. But yeah, I do not get bullet timed here, so I go to 6, and then I I go to my next turn, I get a Watcher, and then I play the Watcher, I send the Watcher in, I go to 7. Now my opponent has to kill kill both sides basically. And they send the send the splitter to the left, clearing that side, and now they have to find a way to clear the right. And so they drop in the dead bloom, which now that I think about it, maybe I should have played the Poro and the Watcher on the right. The reason I didn't play the Poro and the Watcher was because I thought maybe if I just put one, the bullet time would I would still have something left, and then I could time warp maybe a little bit later with the Poro and get the final point. But I actually get majorly punished here because I didn't put the Poro there. My opponent actually gets a dead bloom, which essentially just clears out my Watcher for free. And now I am at an awkward 7 points, no units on board, not many runes, and I cannot use this time warp. So at this point, I feel like I just lose because I have to basically clear at least one battlefield. And I could clear off the Mind Splitter with my Falling Star and Sprite Mother, but it's not it's not gonna do anything because next turn my opponent's just gonna move his Dead Bloom over with the ganking, and I just lose. So yeah, I think because of some of the actions I put here, yeah, I clear that, and then I play a student, and what else? I mean, that's just it, right? Like even if I placed all my Poro, my student, and my Sprite Mother there, I only have 7 might, and my opponent just I don't know what we're doing here, but my opponent basically won. Looking back in this game, I think there's some pretty. I think it's at this point in time. So I cleared out though. I feel like I did not have to go in here, maybe, because I know my opponent's basically top decking. I think going in here was also a little weird because I'm susceptible to bullet time, but I kind of have to just to see if I can get those points. So I think this is fine. And then the next turn, I only have Watcher. I can't play Time Warp here. So I guess in my head, it's like, okay, I'll just send the Watcher in to the Soul Gorger. And now, obviously, the Splitter, it gets a free trade if it goes to the left. And then the only thing I get punished by here is Bullet Time and a Dead Bloom. But I think if I got punished by a Bullet Time, it's actually fine. Because right now, I'm on point. I'm on 7 points. If my opponent clears the left and Bullet Times the right, they would go to 6 points. And I can still scam a win off of the Raven Bloom into the Time Warp because I would get probably two more blue runes next turn. Yeah. Yeah, I'd get exactly 2 blue runes next turn, play the Raven Bloom. And if they can't get both battlefields, I think they can. They do have the Misfortune, but maybe I would be able to get something else out of it. Yeah, I think I put myself in a pretty bad spot here because if I play, I know I get 2 blue runes and I get 2 more afterwards. So the next turn I would get the Raven Bloom in base, and I guess I could go into a Falling Star to clear out one side if my opponent decides to put a Misfortune, and then send the Raven Bloom there, still go to 7, and then Time Warp for the win. So I think in this situation, it was actually not the right play to leave the Poro in base. I needed to move the Poro in so that I could go for a Raven Bloom Time Warp play over the next 2 turns because my options are kind of limited. But the thing is, my opponent also has pretty limited options. So the only thing I should be playing around here is probably just the Dead Bloom Predator. Unless there is something else I'm missing. But yeah, that is a pretty big blunder for me. And ultimately, it leads me losing this best of 3 to the MF Aurora. I know it's not super favored, but there were a lot of things I could have done better here. That's it for this one, I guess. I think the main takeaways is that just be wary of what your opponent could play. I haven't had a lot of games against MF Aurora, so this is definitely something that I need to start thinking about. That The dead blooms are something that could come out, the bullet time, and potentially like the gusts, the rebukes. And yeah, that's going to be it for this one. Thanks for watching.